talk about the real reason that a lot of men dislike or try to skip foreplay. And no, it's not because you don't care, despite what other people have said. It's because you did care and you tried. You slowed down, you kissed her, you went down on her, you did all the things that you thought you were supposed to do. And after all of that, nothing really changed. No shift or spark or clear heck yes coming back at you. And now, foreplay has stopped feeling sexy and started to feel like a chore. Why am I doing this if it leads to nothing? Of course you want to skip ahead to the good part. If you've been stuck in that space, hear this clearly. You are not alone, and it's not because you're bad at foreplay. The problem is that most men were never actually taught how female arousal works. So when foreplay doesn't seem to amount to anything, you don't think, oh, maybe I'm missing a piece. You think, God, I must be bad at this, or she's not really into me. And that's why in today's video, I'm going to disclose an exclusive foreplay framework that I teach called the orchestra technique. And for a lot of men, it is a total game changer. Obviously, there's no one technique for every woman, but this one comes surprisingly close because great foreplay, much like an orchestra, is all about conducting an experience. Think about it for a moment. An orchestra, just like foreplay, starts slow and it builds in layers. And when everything is in sync, something really beautiful emerges that's bigger than any one of the parts. But when even one section is out of tune or offbeat, the entire experience feels off. Before I walk you through the technique, there's one thing that you need to understand about female arousal because it explains why the orchestra technique works so well. Biologically, female arousal is more complex than male arousal by design. Unlike the quick, reflexive arousal response seen in men, women's bodies typically need more time, more safety, and a slower ramp-up to come fully online. Most women need somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes to reach full arousal. So when things move too fast, her body doesn't open, it tightens. And when her body tightens, that can show up as discomfort, pain, numbness, or emotional shutdown. And this is where so many foreplay tips get it wrong. They treat arousal like a switch instead of a process. They skip over the nervous system, chasing an outcome and missing the actual moments that matter. The orchestra foreplay technique works because it mirrors how her body naturally builds pleasure. It activates arousal without her feeling pressure, creating emotional safety first and allowing physical responses to follow naturally. And more importantly, it shifts the focus from performance to presence. So now that you understand why this works, let's talk about what it actually looks like in practice. The orchestra technique for foreplay. Step 1, mental stimulation. Before anything else happens, her mind needs to be involved. Her brain is her biggest sex organ, and most foreplay skips this entirely. Before you touch her body, you need to touch her mind. And when I say that, I don't mean with rehearsed compliments or saying what you think you're supposed to say. I mean presence. When a woman feels safe, seen, and genuinely desired, arousal builds faster. That's not just emotional or mental, it's biological. Her nervous system has to register safety before her body can surrender to sensation. You might see this described as object of desire affirmation, which is just a fancy way of saying that your words remind her that she's wanted. And this matters more than most men realize. Saying things like, I want to feel every part of you slowly. I want to just like this. Your body looks incredibly hot right now. Can create arousal without pressure. According to recent research, the clitoris has actually more than 10,000 nerve fibers. That makes it the most sensitive structure in the entire human body. But those nerves don't fully light up without blood flow. And blood flow actually starts with mental arousal. This is where simple, grounded statements can go a long way. You're not rushing her. You're not trying to get somewhere. And if you are, stop it. You are inviting her in. And when her mind says yes, then her body starts to follow. Step 2, kissing, making out. This is the quiet opening. This is where connection starts to build. See, an orchestra doesn't just start with cymbals and trumpets blaring. It starts with tuning and warm-ups and subtle cues. And in the same way, when you sync your breath with hers and kiss like you have nowhere else to be, like you're not trying to get anywhere, you're not just turning her on, you're regulating her nervous system. You're communicating safety without saying a word. You're telling her, I'm not in a hurry, I'm here with you. And that changes everything. When you stay in this kind of slow, connected, and rhythmic kissing, her body starts releasing oxytocin, which is the hormone tied to trust and bonding, and her stress begins to drop. And the longer that you stay here, the more relaxed and receptive she'll likely become. Let your hands wander, not just to her genitals. Think about places that build anticipation instead. Her neck, her back, her shoulders, her arms, her hips. And this is what I want to be clear about. We're not teasing to manipulate or because we're goal-oriented. This is tuning in. So stay with her. Let the kisses linger. Let your hands listen to her body. This is when her body will start quietly whispering yes. Step 3, awaken her body. This is where you let your hands explore her body the way that you'd play an instrument. Once her mind is engaged and her body is softening, you start exploring her with intention and rhythm. And yes, I mean that literally. Touch her with the same care and curiosity you would bring to something that you truly want to feel. Try even using the back of your hands to create light, indirect touch. Trace along her inner thighs, the sides of her hips. Let each stroke linger just long enough to wake up her skin. Then, you place your flat palm gently over her vulva. And before you do anything else, you just pause. No rubbing, no pressure, stillness. And I know that for some of you this feels counterintuitive, maybe even awkward, but let me tell you, this really matters. This is the moment in the symphony where the full orchestra comes in. Everything starts working together, and as long as her body relaxes into your hand, then you can begin to move. Soft strokes, subtle rhythm, nothing forced, no agenda. Think less about trying to make something happen and more about sensation, like water running over skin. As arousal builds, her brain begins to release dopamine and norepinephrine, the chemicals tied to anticipation, focus, and pleasure, along with oxytocin, or the bonding and cuddle hormone. As these chemicals come online, blood flow increases, sensitivity heightens, and the vagina begins to lubricate, as long as her body's capable of doing that. But when her body is responding like this, that is what makes the next step possible. Step 4, internal touch. This step is earned because internal touch only begins where her body is clearly saying yes through all of the other steps before. If there's tension or hesitation, that's your cue to slow down, and that is not a failure. That is just being attuned. When she is ready, this is where you move inside with ease and presence and attention and curiosity. Enter her vagina with one finger, about a knuckle deep, and orient yourself using the clock method. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. These positions serve as anchors that support steadiness and awareness as you meet her body from the inside. At each point, pause and breathe. Stay with her. Listen through your finger. The focus rests on connection and attunement. The experience unfolds through sensation, breath, and timing. Your awareness follows her cues as her body shares information through breath and sound and subtle movement. When she invites more time in one place, stay there. When she asks for a softer touch, soften. Her guidance leads the way. As her breath, her voice, and her body come into harmony, this is the moment where the whole orchestra comes together, where all of the instruments swell and the music fills the room, carrying everything you've been building into its fullest expression. Sometimes this step alone is enough for her to experience orgasm, simply because everything feels aligned and her body feels fully supported to respond with presence and connection as the guiding focus. For those who want to learn this in a deeper, more embodied way, this approach forms the foundation of my Yoni massage course. It's where I show you how to actually apply all of this, reading her cues, knowing exactly what to do next, and staying relaxed and connected instead of guessing or rushing. This way, you know what you're doing and she can feel it. And that brings us to the close of the orchestra technique, where everything you've been building comes together naturally. But before we conclude, I want to leave you with a few final reminders. First of all, foreplay is not optional. Everything we've talked about, from mental stimulation, slow kissing, indirect touch, all of it is foreplay. And most women need time for their bodies to fully open. If you don't have time, you don't have time. You don't just bulldoze through. Skipping the buildup is like fast forwarding to the chorus and expecting the whole song to land. Next, try using different types of touch, like I mentioned, using the back of your hand. Sometimes it feels softer and more attentive, like you're taking your time with her instead of moving towards something. That kind of contact lets her feel savored and appreciated, and when she feels that, her body relaxes and responds on its own. And lastly, let her feel your desire without pressure. Arousal is contagious, but only if she feels safe. If she tenses up, you slow down. If she pulls away, you follow her lead. If she wants to stop, you stop. I hope that this video helped you see foreplay differently, and if it did, please hit the like button and make sure you are subscribed. And in the comments below, tell me which part of the orchestra technique you are most excited to try. I'm Keelan V. I'll see you here next week.